I am Jim Collison, and this is the Wellbeing at Work with CliftonStrengths podcast recorded on February 17th, 2022. In this CliftonStrengths podcast, we'll look at the strengths, insight, and action planning items from Appendix 1 in the Gallup book, Wellbeing at Work, one theme at a time, and today's theme is harmony. If you're listening live, love to have you join us in the chat room, and if you're listening after the fact via the podcast, YouTube, you can always send us your questions, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jacqueline Robinson is our host today. She works as a Gallup Learning and Development Consultant and was the primary contributor to Appendix 1 in the back of the Wellbeing at Work book. And Jacqueline, always great to be with you, and welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Let's do this.
Let's dig in. Today we're spending a little time on harmony. Let's just start with that definition.
Yes, people that lead with harmony look for consensus. They don't enjoy conflict. Rather, they seek areas of agreement.
I think harmony is really misunderstood. So I think today is going to be a great opportunity to flesh some of these things out. So I'm excited about it. Let's talk a little bit. How does it relate to you? And then maybe how does it relate to others?
So if you lead with harmony, you likely find that you can spot an obstacle or a potential path to conflict that will impede on your workflow before it even occurs, or maybe even before others see it. And this awareness, combined with intentional communication to respective partners or your manager, that can help you get ahead of it before it even begins. How it relates to others, I'd say when different perspectives are vocalized and no path forward seems likely, everyone's kind of, connecting in their own language, but no one's really coming together. Partners can count on your natural ability to find that common goal or purpose among them and keep everyone progressing forward. So really adept at finding consensus and moving forward with productivity. I think that's a big part of it.
I think it's been misrepresented in some ways as let's get together and hold hands and light candles.
Yes, around a campfire.
Right. Yes.
Some s'mores.
And those things don't necessarily lead to successful outcomes. I think in the way you just described it, as someone who with relationships can remove barriers.
Yes.
Can maybe see them in advance. Like we're going to have some conflict coming here. Let's do some things to communicate really, really well, or let's over communicate, or let's do some creative communication. All of a sudden, that doesn't sound so soft. Like that doesn't sound so like kumbaya, right? That's a phrase we say here in the United States when we're thinking about this idea of peace and love. So I really like, I think I want to encourage folks to kind of think of this as a powerful success factor in the mitigation sometimes of conflict, especially with people, because where two or more gather, there is conflict, right? We just always have it. And I think it's a powerful superpower in anticipating it, managing it, and then even post management of that. How do we move forward? Anything else you want to add before we move on that?
No, I think that's great, especially in the world of where we want people to feel like they belong and they're included, and we're global. People are going to have such diverse ideas and opinions and perspectives. This person is that wonderful mediator or negotiator, so to speak, that can help people navigate through those differences and actually find some common ground to move forward. I think it's a beautiful theme.
Yeah, and really sometimes we oftentimes spend or think about this me versus we, and in the me sense of mitigating even self-conflict, of being able to work through their own issues. But I think it's really powerful in the we of bringing groups together. And man, never probably a better time. I mean, this is always a good time to use harmony, but probably never a better time than right now. We're coming off the book, Wellbeing at Work, and we're spending some time looking at well-being. How does harmony look when it's thriving versus struggling in well-being?
One thing I thought about with this is this person thrives when others around them are also thriving, in the sense that everyone feels aligned and is working together towards a common goal. That can feel very healthy and just good to this individual. This transfers over to their personal life too. So when their family and friends are exhibiting low conflict and feel happy by nature, or are in a mindset to manage conflict well, I think this also brings a sense of harmony and well-being to the individual. In terms of struggling, though, This person can struggle in an environment with naturally argumentative individuals, who are seeking to bring forth opposition and conflict as opposed to maybe working
Mhm.
through it. And whether it's family, friends, or coworkers, that can just be very difficult. They can also struggle in environments where playing devil's advocate or challenging one another's perspective is welcomed. Perhaps really frequently, some struggle with those types of environments.
We've broken this down by theme and then by
Mhm.
each of the elements in Appendix 1. You spent some time on putting those together. Let's kind of give a best practice, if I can say that right here. It's still a little early in the US. Um,
Yeah.
which one have you picked for us today?
Get excited. I chose for financial well-being. So this person is likely to feel stressed when they receive multiple opinions on important decisions they face. Their harmony is best served when they follow recommendations of one financial expert versus many.
Mm. But give me an idea what that when you think when you're thinking about that example, flush that out just a little bit more for me. What does that
Mhm.
look like?
This could look like someone that has a financial advisor that they go to and they keep for years, that just gets them, understands how they want to
Mm,
lean into their financial well-being. What are their short-term and long-term goals? Where it can be a struggle is if they have this financial advisor and then maybe they've got a family member that's trying to give them advice on where to invest in stocks. And that's maybe different than what their financial advisor who knows them for years has been sharing with them. And
yeah.
then they have a friend that's in crypto. It's like, no, you have to get into crypto, and this is
Yeah.
why. So there's just a lot of conflicting information and advice that's coming to them financially that can create a little bit of tension of what path do I follow versus having one trusted financial advisor that they can go to that might give them different ideas, but it's coming from, one individual that has their best interest and goals in mind based on what that person has shared with them.
I love that idea. I also love the idea of thinking of a corporate board or maybe even a
Yes.
nonprofit board where there's always a financial team, right?
Mhm.
No more. I mean, I've been on plenty of those
Yes.
boards. All the conflict lives in the financial team. Nobody cares about the other things. They work just fine. It's the financial bit, and I think that's a great opportunity for someone with high harmony to look ahead, see the potential conflicts,
Mhm.
work on the relationships in this, right? And there's probably some self preservation in this as well because in some cases they work on these so those conflicts don't happen. Of course they're uncomfortable
Yes.
in those situations, right? So let's mitigate them before they become problems so we don't have to deal with the conflict, right? That's in it. That's okay. Like that's a
Yes.
self-preservation mode that really satisfies the needs of the team in this case. And that team, this financial team, they all have conflict. Seeing those things in advance and then helping with that, I think that's a growth. And that's the financial well-being of that team, right? Of that
Mhm.
organization, of those kinds of things. So I think that's great. Jacqueline, you've outlined
Cheers.
4 others in the back of the book as well, and those are available for resources, coaches. We'd encourage you to use those with the individuals that you are coaching because there's just some great conversations to have back there. So, Jacqueline, with harmony in mind, how can it be used? We've talked a little bit about this already, but how can it be used to
Mhm.
support others?
If you're a manager, you're leading a team, you might quickly identify how your team and a team they work cross-functionally with can become better partners to one another. So what are they both working towards that you can point to? And that discussion can break down silos and create greater productivity between and among teams. And if you're on a team, think about what workplace groups or activities are focused on bringing people together or celebrating one another. For example, a team that focuses on well-being or community events or is organizing birthday announcements, that's an opportunity for your harmony to shine because you're celebrating something, you're encouraging well-being among people, and that's bringing people together. In terms of an individual, let's say that I usually see someone with harmony as someone that's more sensitive to maintaining equilibrium and that sense of consensus within self, but also externally. I'd say you probably know just what it takes to release stress and maintain that sense of balance. So don't hesitate to get that time in to decompress because when you're in harmony with yourself, you're all the better at creating harmony among
Hmm.
groups.
Hmm. Yeah, that ability to look ahead and see that conflict maybe coming in organizations or in teams you're going
Mm-hmm.
to be a part of. And then
Mm-hmm.
proactively, the success factor, right? Proactively building into those relationships so those
Mm-hmm.
conflicts are mitigated in some way or enhanced, is, some of us just bang through life like, a bull
Pinball
in a
machine or
china
something.
shop, right? Yeah, and so I think a great opportunity there, and even by improving yourself in this one, I think this is one of these where, as you do this for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it has an effect on others around you because you're potentially mitigating those conflicts. So I think super cool.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah. In Appendix 2, we have a framework that we can be walking through that looks at each of these elements through the framework. And so, Jacqueline, walk us through that exercise from Appendix 2.
Yes, and I pulled from community well-being for this one. So one thing that you could do is ask yourself, how can I apply my passions and interests to organizations in my community? Ask your team members, what are some things we can do as a team to show our support for our communities? And then for taking action, establish partnerships with community organizations that share your team's purpose. So I would say with all of those three, with harmony, you can point people to how the work you do is aligned with something greater. Everyone's coming together again for that higher purpose, that higher mission, and it's contributing to something really great and purposeful.
A very simple framework that we've put back there, and some great tools to do that. Ask yourself, ask your team members, take action. It's just a great reminder. I think sometimes the simplest things are the best when we're trying to do these, and just a great reminder of sometimes keeping it simple is good in this. And
Hmm.
so, Jacqueline, as we think about harmony and kind of wrap this section, anything else that you want to highlight or that you want to leave folks with as we go?
Probably just the key terms. I think of these individuals as the negotiators or the mediators. They're really good at being able to manage their conflict. Doesn't mean they're comfortable with it all the time, um, or at all. Sometimes, depending on the individual, they just don't like it, but they'll manage through it. But this is something that they're quite adept at, is finding common ground among different differences of opinion, differences on teams. So they are a great go-to.
With that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we do have available around this at Gallup Access. Head out to gallup.com/CliftonStrengths. Log in, get going on those resources. A lot to learn there. For coaching, master coaching, or become a Gallup certified strengths coach, we do that as well. You can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Join us on any social platform by searching Clifton Strengths. You can join us in any of those groups, LinkedIn, Facebook. Find us there. Get in there and join the conversation. Want to thank you
Yes.
for listening today. If you're live, stay around for a little bit of mid show, and with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.